And I just
Okay.
wanted to start of just, hearing a little bit about who you are and tell me about you as a mom, as a woman, as a professional. And I know that's a lot of things to do a little snapshot of, but share with us who you are.
Okay. So my name is Emylee, and I am a nurse. I've been for a little over 20 years. Since having Aubrey about 5 years ago, I kind of cut back on work. So I am more at home these days with her, which I love. My husband and I have a beautiful blended family, 2 boys,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
and then he has a daughter, and then we have Aubrey together.
Mm-hmm.
So,
and that's when I got to meet you. So I met you nearly 5 years ago. I didn't get to be part of the story from the very start, but really early on, I remember meeting you. And tell me a little bit about Aubrey. Aubrey, you're the baby of the family.
Oh, Aubrey. She is just so full of life, so energetic and funny and silly and very loving, creative. She loves arts and crafts and anything she can make. She loves the library. She loves being read to. We go there often. Swimming, baking. She is just, she has a lot of interests and enjoyments, and she keeps us on our toes. She's very strong-willed.
A little bit of sass. Do I
a lot of
see
sass? Yeah, a lot of sass. Yeah, she definitely keeps us on our toes. I was like, really, at 40, God? But yeah.
Does she boss her older siblings around?
Yes. Oh, yes. Yes.
And they
don't
probably
mind.
I was just gonna say they probably are just great with it.
They spoil her. Yeah.
Well, she is such a special and sweet girl. And I enjoy every time I get to see her. And the reason that we're having this conversation today, outside of our normal, visits that we get to do, is that Aubrey, in addition to all these wonderful things and who she is as a little girl and as a little person, also carries a lot of weight, a lot for these 5 years, because of also a condition that she has. So tell me a little bit more about what her diagnosis is and what that means.
Okay. So Aubrey was born with a genetic condition. It was a complete shock to us when she was born. All of her fetal scans and lab work and everything were normal. So when she was born with obvious facial differences, they did a lot of tests and studies to try and figure out what it was. And so when she was in the hospital as a newborn, we left knowing that she had what they call craniosynostosis, which is the fusion of her right cranial. Well, for her, it was her right cranial fusion of her skull bones, where they would normally be open for the brain to grow. And so they told us at that time that she was born that she would need a skull reconstruction within the first year of her life to give her brain room to grow. That can come on as a part of a genetic condition, or it can just be something that some kids have that outside of like a genetic condition. So they were pretty sure for Aubrey that it was a genetic condition. We just didn't know exactly right away what it was. So there were a couple months there of not really knowing what was going on, underlying for her. A lot of doctor's appointments and specialty visits. And we finally were given the diagnosis of Craniofrontonasal Dysplasia, which they call CFND for short. And that is a very rare craniofacial condition, genetic, that can be hereditarily passed, or it can be like a spontaneous mutation in a gene. And so we got that diagnosis, and by the time she was 9 months old, she had her skull surgery done.
Mm-hmm. And it was a really major surgery for her.
Yes, that
Mm-hmm.
that was a major surgery. They
Mm-hmm.
basically make an incision from ear to ear and really take the skull out and reconstruct it from the outside and then place it back in.
Mm-hmm.
So her before and after skull CT scans and are just amazing how they were able to reconstruct, open up that suture and give her brain room to grow.
Yeah.
So.
Share with me if you can a little bit. I mean, I think any mom, just we can identify with each other and how we feel for our kids and how we imagine things and we dream things, and how we so much want to be this protective bubble and to make everything so perfect. And while we know that things aren't going to always be perfect, anytime it isn't, it's really hard for us moms. Can you share a little bit about what that was like for you, kind of that journey that you went through with learning the diagnosis and all that Aubrey would need, and what that condition would mean for her?
I think at first there was a lot of fear. Hope, you want, like you said, you have plans and you want your kids to, live a full life, and you don't want them to hurt or go through hard things. And so there was a lot of fear. But for me personally, faith played a large role for me. I loved Aubrey immensely. My husband and I did, our whole family did. We knew that she was here for a purpose, and we were blessed to come upon a community of people that had the same diagnosis as Aubrey. So they were a tremendous support for us as we were kind of navigating a very unknown part of parenting.
Right.
I had my two boys previously, and nothing prepared me for this time. I just hadn't, ever gone through anything like that, to see a child go through. But like I said, my faith, the community, reaching out, family and friends, everybody was very supportive. So talking about it and just believing that we were on this path for a reason. So
everybody has to find probably sources of strength, and going through difficult things, you learn what that needs to be for you to get you through. And you mentioned that community of support. This condition is so rare. Do you have a sense about the actual statistics that about how commonly, and can you share a little bit about that and how you found this community, because since it is so rare?
Yes. So the statistics that I've read are 1 in 120,000 children are born with CFND. When we were trying to read up about it, you hadn't had a patient with it before,
right? And, I had to do the same work too. Yes.
When we started researching surgeons, there were people that had surgeons that had done surgery on craniosynostosis. But in light of CFND, which children with CFND have some additional, facial features like the hypertelorism, which is the widened space between the eyes, and other, specific features, and bone differences. we really tried to research surgeons that had experience with her condition overall. And we found two that were a reasonable distance from us that we could possibly go to that had done this surgery on a child with CFND. So it's very rare.
Mhm.
We ended up at CHLA and have been very, very happy to be there. I remember how excited I was one day when we went and we saw another child that I'm pretty sure had CFND,
Uh-huh.
and then realized that she was part of the community that we were a part of, and recognized each other, and the girls got to hug and talk, and it was awesome,
Yeah.
because it is very rare.
Mhm.
So I found that group on Facebook,
Mhm.
trying
Mhm.
to just Google and Facebook and try to find anybody that um, that had the same condition. So
Mhm. And are these people from the US? Is it all over the world that is on this group with you?
it is people from all over the world.
Mhm.
So we know people in Australia and the UK and just all over. I think
Mhm.
there's about 300 in the group. Um,
Wow.
yeah, so it's really an extension of our family at this point. We all just, support each other and share. A lot of times the doctors don't know if something your child is going through is related to their condition or something completely different.
Yes, we've been through that. I know.
Yes, yes. So,
Uh-huh.
and we're all different, even within that
Yeah.
community, our
Yeah.
children are different, and the
Sure.
gene can be expressed differently for different children.
Mhm.
And there are different, just different ways that, so none of our kids are exactly the same, and
Right.
you meet one family with it, one family with it, but
Yeah.
there are a lot of similarities of our kids. And so it's very helpful when you're just kind of lost for answers,
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
have a community of people.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's so wonderful. And there's so much discussion about representation in so many different areas. And I think that's so important in terms of, you know, in our society, racially, ethnically, men, women, all of that. But also when we talk about different medical conditions and the way that people look, and being able to know each other and to support each other and being able to find the commonality. And one thing that I wanted to really ask you about and talk about is Aubrey being 5 years old, and has had this gone through so much. I'd like to go back to that about some of the surgeries and the different things that she's gone through. And what your goals are for her as she's growing up. She's getting ready to go into this new phase that will be with more of her peers and people who haven't gone through the same struggles, and what that's looking like for you right now, and kind of what your fears are with all that.
I mean, it's something that many of us parents have talked about. Kids can be mean, and it's statistically shown that people with craniofacial conditions tend to undergo a lot more bullying, and issues socially. So of course that's the forefront of my mind. I just want her to be seen for the amazing person that she is, and to have confidence, and to make friends like every parent wants their child to do. And so my wish is that people will come to learn how to be around differences, and we have felt already stares, or comments, or things like that they kind of go over her head at this point, but they're starting to register. And so I think that's why I'm here, just wanting to help spread, that awareness, and the acceptance for people that are different. I mean, in actuality, we're all different. We're all unique. This world is made up of differences, and I just I want to celebrate that and help other people accept that and come to understand.
I love that message. If you could think of things that we could share with parents, of ways they can talk to their kids about how we approach, because I think your point was really good, that we all have differences and we want to celebrate those differences. And some differences we see more quickly than others. What suggestions do you have for parents of how to talk to their children and prepare their children for looking for differences in an accepting way?
The first thing I would say is we are all models to our children, and I think we're the greatest teachers in life, and how we treat other people is going to be one of the biggest factors that we are going to make it, in our children's lives. So if they see you being kind to somebody and then turning around and saying something, not kind, they're going to see that, and I think if they see you kind and accepting of somebody and not fearful of them, that goes a long ways. I think also for Aubrey, I have a lot of books about that have, people in them with all kinds of differences that we can kind of open up that conversation at home. I think having that conversation at home sets you up to succeed in the public, when you're out at the park and you see somebody who's different, and I think if you've had those conversations with your children at home, if you've been able to discuss, the differences that are out there, I think being at a playground situation where your child and you may see somebody like Aubrey playing, you can say, hey, remember we read that book about differences and, how people might be different, but they also are the same in a lot of ways. Let's go say hi, or, maybe she would like to go down the slide with you, or, I think it sets you up to not be embarrassed by a comment or a question because your child is shocked and is, because children, are children and they're going to be curious. And if they've never seen something, I think we've felt it before at the park, where we're playing, and you can see when there are parents that want to direct their children away from you because they don't, I think in some ways you don't want your child to say something that might, be embarrassing or, but then we've also been there when we've had that family that have come up and said, hi, this is so-and-so, what's your name, and it makes a world of difference. It really does. And so I think setting yourself up to be able to do that in public, it starts at home, and talking about, disabilities or differences that you might see out in the world. So
I love that. And when we're done, I want to get your list of books. And so we can also share those and make sure we make that list available for everybody and get those books out there, because I think that is such a great way for teaching in general for kids, for bringing up different topics. And that preparation is really wonderful. So I wanted to go back and ask a little bit about everything that Aubrey's done. And the reason why is because I also think that she is so brave, and what she's seen in 5 years and what she's overcome is pretty amazing. Tell us a little bit about, because we talked about a little bit about the big surgery that she had, but there's been lots of other stuff too.
She had the cranial reconstruction. And then I want to say less than a month. I feel like some of that is a blur in my mind, but less than a month after that, she started helmet therapy. So her particular surgeon has the children wear a helmet after the construction just to help kind of direct the brain or the bone growth. And so she was supposed to be in the helmet for about 3 to 4 months. That meant going weekly. We traveled an hour there and an hour back weekly to get helmet adjustments. And so we would go do that every week. And then bi-weekly, she would need to get 3D images of her head. So that entailed wearing a mesh nylon over her entire face. And so you can imagine after surgery like that, she did not like her head to be touched. So that was difficult. It usually ended in her screaming until she would just vomit. And so we did that for 9 months with her. And she went through 3 different sized helmets. And so when she graduated, it was a very exciting day. Anybody who's had a kid in a helmet knows that there's not a lot of sleep that goes on. And so she learned to crawl in it and walk in it. And it was fun.
Big process. Is there anything else that that I can be helpful in sharing and letting people know who are going through, maybe they're earlier on the journey, and it can be something specific to this rare journey that you've specifically gone through?
I often wish that I could go back and tell myself, at the beginning of all of this, that it's going to be okay. And that Aubrey's purpose is, huge. She has purpose. She has a life ahead of her. And I wish I had taken those early months to just soak her in more and fear less. I don't know if that's possible, in reality, but and just to find that community of people that you can be completely raw and real with, and give yourself grace. You're learning along with everybody else, and that you are the best parent for your child, and that it's going to be okay no matter what happens, that your child has a purpose and you are purposefully there for them as their parent. I don't know if I put that one.
You put that beautifully. We should just end right there. That's just beautiful. And man, from day one, the love that you've shared and the way that you've soaked her in, even though I know we all wish we could soak our babies in even more. I think that's just a good reminder to all of us parents that fear can dominate, and especially when there's things to be scared of. But this is an amazing journey that we've taken, that she's taken, that you have with her, and how strong and brave and courageous and loving this little girl is. I can't wait to see what she continues to contribute.
Yeah, she is incredible, and we're just very thankful to have her in our lives. So.
Well, thank you, Emylee. Thank you so much for spending some time with me this afternoon. And I'll look forward to seeing you again soon.
Thank you so much for doing this. It means a lot.
Oh, pleasure's mine. Thank you so much. We'll talk soon. Okay. Bye-bye.
All right. Bye.